Hi everyone, back today with another video. I just thought I'd do a quick one about what I was doing to make gold today. Over the last 2 days, I've made about 100,000 gold, a little bit more, and I haven't been playing too much. I've been really busy with my book, but I've been logging on and off during the day when I get a chance. And I actually had like a little bit of a block today, which I did intend to do delves in, but the WoW overlords decided that that was not going to be a thing with everybody getting locked in instances when they loot. Decided to avoid it and do other things today. I am very excited to get the delves done at the moment, especially with that buff that gives you a 25% increase in those undercoins. So I think that'll be really good for those delve bags. And I think there's a lot of gold to be made there, especially when you pair that with the world quest that wants you to do 8 delves. So I'm definitely going to be looking at that as soon as we can get in and out of instances. So the bulk of my gold the last few days has been making those enchants, the gold level enchants, with the concentration build. Basically, some days I'm able to make about 5, but the chant of winged grace is making me a lot of gold. So every time I can make that at level 3, I do it. It sells very quickly, and it's about 1,000 gold profit. I buy my storm dust during the day, just because it's cheaper than it is in the evenings. I have the ability to log in at different intervals throughout the day, so I'm kind of seeing the differences. And everything, if you need to buy something in bulk, everything is just so much cheaper earlier in the day. So that's what I've been doing. I've been buying my storm dust around 10 gold a piece. But in the evenings and afternoons, it can go up to as much as 13 or 14, which doesn't sound like a lot. But when you're buying them in the bulk I am, it is a lot. I am also making a lot of gold with the other enchants, the low level enchants that I can make at gold level relatively easy with the bronze mats. Like I've mentioned in previous intervals, there is no hard and fast with this. Some things make a lot of gold and one day and then nothing the next. So just check the auction house and make sure the enchant makes profit. I got a $5,000 public order today. $5,000, 5,000. I wish a 5,000 gold public order today. So that was pretty nice. And I've also noticed the Pioneer gear on my tailor, the level 71 items I can make are doing extremely well. I'm selling 2 or 3 of every one of those a day. Also, the accessories like the tailor's hat, the enchanter's hat, the fishing cap, those things, they're making a lot of gold. I'm selling, I don't know, 2 to 3 of those a day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're making 100 to 200 gold profit per thing, sometimes more, depending on the time of day it's selling, because like I said, things are more expensive in the evenings. Depending on what's selling and when, I'm making a lot of gold, and it's really passive. So I don't have to be on for those things to be selling. When I do log in, I check to make sure if I've been undercut, and you've probably seen me do that a few times, and then I'll delist them and relist them. But that's essentially all I'm doing. So it's not making a lot of gold, but it is making gold when I'm not playing, and that's definitely a good thing to be looking at there. I've also maxed out my duskweave tree. So I'm finding when I'm making those bolts with the silver items, sometimes the silver ones sell for a lot of gold. You can see here I'm getting 45 gold profit on each of them. And I was making 65 profit on the gold ones, and I didn't think it was worth using my concentration on that on Crest Week, basically the beginning of the Great Vault Week. So I've been doing that, making those bolts when I can, and they're making a nice turnover. I'm getting 1 to 2,000 gold depending on my multicraft proc each, when I'm making each day, essentially when I'm making those. My other thoughts are, I've noticed that the procs, like when you get items back when you're making things, they tend to be higher when I'm at the table. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but like I can do enchanting away from the table, and I can make weaver cloth bolts away from the table. But I've noticed that when I'm at the table, I get better results. So I'm just wondering if anybody else has noticed that, or if it's all in my head. Leave a comment if you've noticed it too. But I figure if I'm in the capital city, it doesn't hurt to stand at the table anyway. There's a little bit of flying around, but if it really is giving me that extra proc rate, it's worth it, I think. I did my catch up for enchanting and tailoring the patron orders. And you make a bit of gold from those. I've done a separate video on that, but you do make a bit of gold from those. And the tailoring points and the enchanting knowledge points are really what you're looking for. Being able to increase those talent trees so you've got a concentration build is really where all the gold is, and is, I think, in my opinion, it is better to spend gold getting into those talent trees than it is to just kind of wait it out. So I'm doing those patron orders if they're not too expensive, and I'm making gold on a lot of them. Some of them more gold than others. Some of them are just break even, but most of them are giving me talent points, and I think that's worthwhile. I have started to make some old world items, like classic items, shirts and things basically with my tailor, just to see if any of them sell for easy transmorg. Some of them are listing for about 1,000 gold when they take about 60 gold to make, sometimes not even. I have listed those a couple of times. You've probably noticed them in and out of my mailbox. So far, I've sold nothing, but you never know, something might come along. So I'm giving it a go. I'll let you know if anything works out there, but that's something I'm experimenting with at the moment. I was able to pair my tailoring and enchanting points where you go and get them from treasures with a world quest, and definitely do that when you can. I'm doing all of this in war mode from now on because the getting the honor and conquest points for things I can swap. Like, I know those bloody stones aren't selling for too much, but it's getting the ability to buy something I can sell that I wasn't getting before, and I'm doing exactly the same thing. So it might be slow, but I do see profit there for doing exactly what I was already doing. So I'm doing it all in war mode from now on, and I'm finding in most cases it's actually a bit easier to get things. Like, I'm not having as much competition with things. So those are my thoughts there with that. Another thing I'm doing is I'm stocking up on the Gloom Fathom hide. The next patch is coming soon. That everybody thinks is coming sometime in February. And I have done a video on this, and I do think the Gloom Fathom hide will go up in value. So I am stocking up on that when I see it cheap on the auction house. I have slowed down with the tinderbox flip. If it looks like I'm going to make a ton of profit, I'm doing it. But the margins were just getting very small. And I'm not sure what's going on, especially earlier in the morning. If you're looking to do the tinderbox flip, you should be buying the regents in the morning if you can, and then listing the tinderboxes in the evening. But in the morning, the regents can be as low as 720, 700, and you can get quite a lot of them at a good price. So that tinderbox flip is still there. It's just getting harder to really ensure the profit margin. It got so small. I think I was making like 40 gold per box, and sometimes not even. So it's not a whole lot. So I started to put my gold into enchants, which are things like you can see here. A lot of them are selling right now as I'm talking. Putting them into making the enchants because I can list them and go away. You can do that with the tinderbox too. The risk is just lower, and it's getting closer to me needing to buy my next subscription. So I don't want all of that gold tied up in the auction house if I need it. Depending on the day, some of those enchants and some of those low level tailoring things are making more gold per flip than the tinderbox was. And they're costing less gold in terms of outlay. Like, I can make an enchant for 50 or 60 gold and then list it for 90 or 100. And that's already a similar profit to the tinderboxes. So there's less risk there. The only downside I've seen is that there's a lot more competition with the enchants. And you have to be more on the ball about making sure you're listed first. And I think just doing that in smaller intervals, listing 2 or 3 every time you log on, and if they all sell, list some more. But listing them as one bulk isn't an option. Whereas with the tinderboxes, I could set them at 2,400 and leave them there and they would sell. But if I do that with the enchants, it's not always guaranteed. But the cost outlay, the cost risk is also less. So the other thing I did today was the dirt pile farm. I really like it. It's really soothing. And not being able to do the delve meant I had to come up with other things. And the best part about this farm today was I got mobbed by a bunch of enraged chickens, which has never happened before. It's probably the best mob I've ever fought, just a bunch of chickens. So that definitely brought a smile to my face. I've not seen that before or since, but that was fun. I did make a bit of gold. I only did this for like 20 minutes. That was all the time I had. Normally in that kind of time, I would do my weaver cloth farm, but like everybody was getting trapped and I didn't want to be trapped. So I elected to do world stuff. So I went and did the dirt pile farm for a little bit, for about 20 minutes. And I went and turned in the ruby crystal. So the other thing I did was instead of the waxy box of rocks, I picked the coin box and I got 1,700 gold for the box. I almost got two. If I'd done it a little bit longer, I would have got two. But that amount of gold is already a lot more than the box of rocks were. It was more than double. So I think it's definitely worthwhile going down that path unless there's something you specifically need. Like if you're, I've said it before, if you're an alchemist or a blacksmith and you're going to get value out of the box of rocks or the box of herbs in terms of being able to turn that into profit with crafting, go that direction. But if you're just looking for raw gold, the box of coins is the way to go. So just while I'm putting that stuff on the auction house here, between logging on this morning and logging off, and this morning's mailbox open included a couple of things that sold overnight, like things that I'd listed and then logged off for the night. So it could be counted as yesterday. I don't know. I did it at like 8 o'clock. So I posted things and then I've logged back on and opened it. And I've done things throughout the day. And I'll just show you in the next little clip my final mailbox open for the day. Today I made 70,513 gold. So that's a pretty good effort, I think. I did sell a couple of toys and pets, and that's really helped. Plus, like the globs of wax farm does pretty well, and all of the tailoring and enchanting items that I'm making and selling, it's a really good passive way to make gold. Those other things. So that's it for today. If you want to copy it, you can, or if you just like a couple of ideas and you're gonna maybe try those out, feel free to do it. If this video was helpful or entertaining in any way, give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. And as always, remember, girls don't play WoW.